Hey everyone, my name is Taps, and I believe it's time that we address the uneasy that's been looming over Veve NFTs and OMI. Yes, the values are way down, but they won't stay that way forever. I believe it's time that we take a look back to see just what Veve has become, where it's going to go over the next year, and put the question, is Veve dying to rest? In this video, I'm going to show current state of what Veve has accomplished, how they've solidified themselves as leaps and bounds ahead of a majority of the other NFT projects in the space, how they're in a prime spot to become a true metaverse player, why exactly the OMI token is a shell of its former self and where it can go to, and finally my thoughts on a worst case and an ideal case scenario and what I'm doing to plan for both. Now, I put a lot into this research, days and days, so get ready for some serious market analysis, folks. As always, if you're new to the channel, welcome to the community, feel free to subscribe. I'm a crypto, stock, and real estate investor, but never a financial advisor. This easily could be a 2-hour video, but I'm doing my best to explain exactly why I am still so bullish on Veve digital collectible NFTs and the OMI token. We're gonna start with Veve, then address OMI, and final thoughts. Okay, everyone, we're gonna actually go through Veve as it stands today, basically a full visibility on what's been accomplished, what is upcoming. Then we're actually gonna go into the AR and mixed reality tech space, metaverse, and how Veve will stand aside of everything else that's being built. We'll go into Veve's value over just 1 year, OMI, where it currently is, what has happened to the price, as well as worst case scenario, an ideal case scenario, and final thoughts. So Veve was created at the tail end of 2020, right? Ecomi and Orbis have been around for a long time, but Veve, the app, was created at the end of 2020, but most didn't really find it until February or March of 2021. So where are we now after 1 year and 3 months later? We know that there are 8 industries that they've said that they will be branching into. We have not yet seen sports, pop culture we have seen. We've not seen gaming yet, but we do know that they have licensors with companies like Street Fighter and Monster Hunter. We have seen some film and TV. We have not yet seen celebrities. We have seen vehicles, but we haven't seen really the high-end luxury vehicles yet. Anime and animation we have not yet seen. So that is a huge vertical that I do believe will bring a whole nother fan base directly in. I'm most excited for it. But we also know that the exposure of Veve to multiple countries, especially the APAC region, has not really been seen. Their primary user base is United States, UK, Australia, and finally artists and music. I'm still hopeful for something like Cause or Banksy, and we have not seen anything tied to musical artists yet, but they did say music would be coming in the future. In terms of collaborations, we know that they are now a partner with Immutable X. That migration has gone through. They are now a part of the Immutable X ecosystem. They migrated from GoChain. Tons of partnerships with licensors, which we'll get into. They have worked directly with San Diego Comic-Con and several other events, but there's a lot more room for growth in that area. Rogers & Cohen, one of the largest PR firms in the world, they've now partnered with Epico for OMI directly used in their game and community projects. When it comes to products, we know that we have the static collectibles, we have animated collectibles, comics, Artist Alley, and David, you has mentioned that there will be another product category coming this year, and we're not really sure how that will tie into with promo codes, but we know that promo codes are also very exciting. Now, when it comes to media, when you think about Veve's impact awareness, fact is that Veve is still not really recognized by the broader NFT market as NFTs, right? Yet, to date, we do have 239,000 followers on Twitter, 113,000 in Discord, 127,000 on Instagram, 29,000 on Facebook, and 38,000 in Telegram. YouTube, I can't see the number of followers, but that is a big footprint. There are a lot of different mediums and a lot of different people who are actively staying in communication, being a part of the community on this project. However, where the opportunities lie is I threw on Twitch here because once the Veveverse comes, whether it's phase 2 or phase 3, whenever it is, we're gonna be able to have this open world to play with, to interact with, to be able to show, as well as the ability to like race our DeLorean or Ectos, all that, and have games built into the metaverse. So that is an opportunity to eventually create Twitch streams. Snapchat I threw on here as well because that augmented reality feature could create a partnership if they ever did work directly with a company like Snap, and TikTok, as there is no Veve official TikTok page, but we do know that TikTok is the #1 social media in the world, so that feels like a missed opportunity to date. And again, they are working with events, but there is more opportunity there. Outside of just Comic-Con, why not go to NFT NYC or actual NFT events? That is something that I really hope that Once we have the metadata or the full integration of Immutable X into OpenSea and be able to sell our Veve NFTs in a NFT marketplace like OpenSea, they start attending these events and bring more awareness directly to the fact that Veve digital collectibles are NFTs. PR articles, of course, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube ads, that is a big opportunity, but they did say that they're waiting till after KYC to start marketing. NFT events, I just spoke to that. When you're on YouTube, if you don't pay for YouTube Premium like I don't, then you do see ads, right? So there is the ability to actually buy out ads for Veve collectibles. That seems like a big win. Influencers and sponsorships. When it comes to OMI, OMI has really not changed much, right? You can stake for 10% APY if you're not in the US. We've seen OMI go from GoChain to Immutable X, but besides that, and it's burning, its utility really has not been seen yet, which is one of the reasons why it has been so affected and dropped in price, but we'll get further into that on the OMI section. IP is king. They have well over 200 plus licensors is what they said in the last AMA, and we have around 100 that we have not even seen yet, as well as tons of artists that we've not seen. They've talked about one of ones. They've talked about bigger artists. They are the first. Marvel, Disney, Star Wars, DC, the list goes on and on, NFTs in the space. So we have some of the biggest brands and IPs that other NFT projects could only hope to get. But there's a lot of ability here because Veve has those firsts, and eventually they will be recognized as first. Talk about the power of first, what happened with CryptoPunks, what happened with Ethrox. It took years before people realized, oh, these are the first NFTs ever created. Then years later, those values shot up. So right now, yes, the NFT world doesn't really seem to care that much that Marvel NFTs were first on Veve or that DC NFTs were first on Veve. Eventually, that will come to fruition. Of over a 100 years collective licensor and brand experience between David Yu, Al Khan, Dan, and Jeremy Padour. We have several of the top 10 licensors, and they keep checking those off as time goes on, as well as several of the top 100 brands. Now let's talk about needs, because this is something that is always a growing list. We get one thing and then there's another thing that's added, right? But right now we're still waiting on MTL cash out that is supposed to be happening the end of this quarter, so the end of June. KYC, same thing, the web version finished, so basically all have access. Localization is the biggest piece that I keep talking about, the ability to have the app translated into multiple languages. Metadata visibility. This becomes more and more of a need, right? We know that we can see the data within a Mutascan, but we want to be able to track that data in the dates back to the GoChain time, right? We want to be able to show that Todd was the first Veve NFT ever. We want to be able to show that Marvel NFTs came out on GoChain before and have that visible within the collectible on the app, pull it out of the app. That is really, really important. Immutable X integration. And so we migrated to Immutable X, but Immutable X's integration to something like OpenSea or just Veve in general, having our Veve collectibles into a decentralized marketplace is another need. Advertising, we've already spoken to. MCP rankings. This is another side that we know is needed, right? Gamification and MCP ranking kind of tie in. The ability to actually stack rank and see where you are as a collector versus your peers. That is a big piece to it, as well as benefits tied to it, social. So right now, pretty much the Veve community lives on Twitter and all of these other areas. The feed is not great in the Veve app. The social abilities are not really refined. So the amount of time spent in Veve or the ability to go back in, unless you're hunting for deals, you're not really drawn back into the app unless it's drop time. Exchanges for OMI. We all know that we are in dire need of more accessibility to buying OMI. OMI to NFT, again, utility for OMI to buy NFTs. OMI burn events, right? They've talked about this. We don't really have a lot of understanding about it, but more events that could burn OMI outside of just buying collectibles would be beneficial to get that total supply down, as well as OUP, UI improvements, and of course the Veveverse. Last piece is, of course, Metaverse. So they've said that the first phase, basically our Veve homes, will be coming at the end of this year. That changes Veve from a digital collectible NFT company with AR functionality to a metaverse company, right? A metaverse project. A lot of NFT projects will not be able to build a robust metaverse and they'll fall flat, right? Because they don't have a large community. They don't have the money to put into a refined metaverse. And that's why Veve is going to really stand out. And we'll get into that piece. But Veveverse is going to be coming in phases. So we'll see phase 1 end of this year. We'll see phase 2 next year and hopefully even phase 3. But metaverse equals that social interaction, right? where we're still spending time on Twitter talking about things, but we'll be able to interact directly in our metaverse, and that will be social features. The awareness for Veve and OMI will shoot up because that also makes OMI a metaverse token. The new product, spoke about the metaverse token. I touched on the fact that Veve has augmented reality functionality, and we're seeing it start to advance, right? They added occlusion, which not really a lot of people cared about, but that is growing in what is needed within the functionality of the app. But the future wearables, as wearables advance, get cheaper, and the tech gets better, that is where Veve wants to go. Dan has said it on multiple AMAs that he believes the future is not just a mobile phone app, but actually tying it into wearables. And with their connections with Apple and others, I imagine Veve will be on the forefront of working with wearables once that comes to fruition. We have branded lands, right? We always want Marvel World and Jurassic Park World and our own Disney World directly in Veveverse. The Veveverse comes with NFT utility. They will eventually have land grabs, renting, and actually people establishing businesses around this will be really cool to see, as well as concerts and events. David Yu has said in the past that he believes that actual concerts will be happening in the Veveverse, as well as advertising. And this one is always kind of like, you don't want it to become like the Oasis in Ready Player One, where there's all these advertisements everywhere, but there is still ability to advertise within a metaverse for other projects, for other brands. That is a win for them and a win for us as well, because it brings more buy-in from these bigger brands' IP and the ability, again, to collab with other projects if they need to. So we're always saying when this, when that, right? But looking back, all of this in 1 year and roughly 3 months, that's a lot built up, and most other companies and projects don't even have a tenth of this success, or can maintain the hype, or the ability to even continue to build. However, tying back to the needs section, I don't think it can be ignored that yes, Veve has missed multiple timelines, and that's had a severe effect on growth and values. And just like every stock, crypto, NFT, asset, or company, value and investor sentiment is always going to ebb and flow. Right now, we're in a big ebb. Those values are down and pulled back. But don't lose sight of the big picture, that this has only been a year and that there's still a lot more to come. Veve is way ahead of a majority of other NFT projects, and here's why. The entire NFT market is down, but it is far from out. And most projects are having to actually pivot into functionality that Veve already has or is in the pipeline in order to actually stay relevant and come ahead. And one of those is through augmented reality and mixed reality utility. You can see over here on the right, there have been tons of articles that have said that augmented reality NFTs are the next big thing. Augmented reality NFT, how augmented reality NFTs help brands increase revenue. How augmented reality based NFTs have the potential to revolutionize arts and culture. How it ties into use cases, and even Binance NFT coming out saying AR and VR NFTs are the future of NFTs. So the NFT space recognizes that augmented reality is the next step that these projects need to go to. But even outside of that space, augmented reality is continuing to scale up. These are articles directly from ARK Invest showing that the global AR and VR market size is going to be over 28 billion, where it was only 3 billion back in 2020. So we can see there is a lot more growth. We're probably around 8 to 10 billion today. And ARK forecasts that by 2030, the AR market could scale from under 1 billion today to over 130 billion. By 2030, we can see that mobile alone has a solid growth path, but then we can see where wearables kicks in and really jumps that up. And that is where Veve is looking to go. Right now, they are killing it with a mobile app that tie directly to Apple and the Google Play Store. But we know that when wearables come out and we have that functionality into our NFTs, it is really going to stand out. Most of the other projects are going to have to jump in and start building out these partnerships, whereas Veve is probably already having conversations. So when it comes to the technology, Veve has been ahead. They already were one of the first to have augmented reality, and that continues to grow. The next piece is we know that the Veveverse is coming at the end of this year. That will make them a metaverse, and they are ahead in terms of Metaverse Strategy. So Gartner is one of the leading research firms in the world. They are in the ear of the biggest companies, the Fortune 500, Fortune 100s, and speaking with them on their metaverse strategy. With over 1.3 million followers on LinkedIn, they came out with this article that was absolutely fantastic. By 2026, 30% of the organizations in the world would have products and services ready for the metaverse. When we look at the elements of a complete metaverse, marketplace, digital commerce, Veve has that, NFTs, Veve has that. Device independence, not quite there yet. Digital assets has that. Infrastructure, that is being built out, right? So I put this under construction. Gaming, yes, they're working with some gaming companies. However, gaming directly in Veve is not possible yet. But with Veveverse probably phase 2 or phase 3, when we're able to race our DeLoreans and all that, that would create the ability for gaming. And a metaverse just makes sense with gaming utility. So that is under construction. Concerts and social, we already spoke to that, under construction with the Veveverse. Online shopping is already there with our marketplace. Digital currency, I clicked check because we know that OMI to NFT will be coming. However, I guess that should probably be under construction as well, but we know that that was the purpose of OMI, right? OMI is supposed to be having utility into Veve, but it's not here yet. Workplace, we don't really have. Social media, the Veveverse will be its own kind of form of social media. However, I really hope that they have the ability to tie in maybe TapsTrades in the Veveverse's name. You click on TapsTrades, maybe it ties in with like a Twitter plugin, a Facebook plugin, an Instagram plugin, all that, and then brings you to that social side. Digital humans, I have no idea how they're going to actually monitor the Veveverse, right? Because there could be a lot of bad actors. With digital worlds, there's always the fear of how do you monitor it? How do you make sure that there's not harassment happening? So I'm not sure how they're going to have admins or the potential of digital humans into the Veveverse, as well as NLP. I don't have enough knowledge on the inner workings of Veveverse. I know they have machine learning built in, but I don't know if they have NLP. But looking at what makes a complete metaverse, most other projects maybe have 2 of these or 3 of these. However, in Veveverse will have a majority of these. That will set them far ahead most other projects. And in terms of timeline, I know right now, we all want it to moon. We all want the Veveverse now. Big scheme of things with the metaverse, Veve is timing it right. We can see the emerging metaverse space is going from 2022 well into 2025. And that's where the advanced metaverse stage is really starting to get built out. The companies like Sandbox, Decentraland, the Veve have quite a lot of time before we really get into this advanced stage. And then by 2030 is where we see mature metaverses. And right now, there's really not a lot of recognized players. There's a lot of companies who talked about going into the metaverse, but when it comes to a centralized metaverse, gaming has definitely the biggest immediate successes in getting ahead of it early with Minecraft and Roblox. We saw Facebook change their name to Meta, which is a whole lot of both excitement and fear for because of Facebook's history. Epic Games, we know that they are building out their own metaverse. Alibaba, one of the largest companies in China, has actively started to build out their metaverse as well, but we haven't really gotten a lot of information on that. Decentralized metaverses, there's a lot of players, but the most recognized, the most built out really have been Decentraland and Sandbox. And Veve falls in between a centralized and a decentralized. And the reason why is because Veveverse will be a centralized metaverse, right? However, you have decentralized assets once we have the ability to take those NFTs and sell them into OpenSea and all that. So it will have a centralized element, which is good for a lot of big IP and for mass awareness. However, decentralized assets makes it that weird in between, which when it comes to actually building a metaverse, Unity is one of the main players, Niantic, Engine is really the decentralized side, helping companies to build metaverse or gaming, and Unreal Engine. And we know that our Veve NFTs are built through Unity. I saw a really, really interesting post on LinkedIn that I want to share. This guy by the name of Stu Richards, MetaMike, came out with this post and I found it fascinating. So this is an instance of Unreal Engine being streamed to my iOS Safari browser. Powered by Surreal Events, this shows the potential of multi-platform immersive gameplay for branded metaverse activations. If you're a brand with a large budget, think Disney, Marvel, Coca-Cola, I encourage you to expand your consideration set beyond low poly platforms like the Sandbox and Decentraland for virtual world activations. I'm not saying you should be choosing pixel streaming over the currently hyped worlds with on-chain components, but if you have the budget, pixel streaming allows for greater immersion and engagement on the consumer side, in my opinion, while retaining low barrier to access. Now, Decentraland has kind of a feel, right? Sandbox has a feel, the pixelated look, which has worked really well for Minecraft and Roblox. But when you think of a true metaverse, you want quality too. And so something like this does stand out, and not all large IP are going to want to build something out, are going to have a large community or the draw to it, like a company like Veve who already can do something like this. And finally, when it comes to wearables, there's a lot more companies than this, but Microsoft, Google, Apple, and Snap are really leading the way on wearables that could come to people like you and I, right? At an actual affordable price. And that is the way that the world is going. And again, Veve realizes that and hopefully are working already on partnerships tying in those wearables once we get there. So you have all that info, but you're probably like, okay, Taps, Veve is in a solid spot to become great, but it's super down right now. This is all future state stuff. What is Veve's current value? Well, right now, when you look at Veve from a macro perspective, it's insane. Veve's success in value in just over 1 year, there have been a total of 6,214,469 NFTs minted and sold out. Over 6 million NFTs sold out is equal to over 610K projects. Put that in perspective when you look at the broader NFT space. There are so many NFTs here that are sold out and actually are at still high values compared to other projects that have near as many NFTs like this. Okay, but why are they so down then? Well, NFTs have dropped, including the user bases across the board. So in the past 30 days, this is actually from April, the number of Axie Infinity's average daily users has dropped 30% from the previous period to about 107,240, which is still a huge number. Sandboxes has fallen 29% to 1,180, and Decentraland has lost 15% to 978 users on a daily average. And they actually compared these to centralized gaming. We can see those user bases are much higher. The user base growth for decentralized versus centralized, whether it's gaming or even metaverse, is very, very much separated. There is not as much draw to a decentralized metaverse or game today versus something that is centralized. Now, I don't know what our active monthly users are. And I don't know if Veve and Ecomi are actually going to come out and say, this is where it is updated. But I am most certain that it is much lower than what it was at over 1 million or 2 million plus. And that's because we realized that bots were a large part of that community, which are now much less than what they once were. We're in a down market, so a lot of people jumped out of Veve. And just negative sentiment, right? All of the hashtag soon, all of the missed timelines, people can only wait so long and they're like, yeah, I'm going to take my money elsewhere. So that has had an effect on our active monthly users. Now, this is not Veve's numbers. This is my estimation by looking at the time to sell out drops, the number of drops per week, and then tying those numbers built out over a month. And so based on that, I do believe that we're roughly at 10,600 average daily users. It could be higher, it could be less. That puts us well under 1 million active monthly users, but I'm not sure how they calculate that. But at 10,000 plus average daily users, we are 10x the average user base of both Decentraland and the Sandbox. And that's with digital collectibles. We're not a gaming play. We're not a metaverse play even yet. This level of success, selling out 6 million NFTs and having a larger user base than the largest metaverse projects in the crypto world, is all without being recognized as real NFTs. Are they real NFTs? Yes, but that metadata again is needed to be seen before larger players are going to actually recognize them. They haven't ever been to a large NFT event to really showcase what Veve even is. It's all without being a metaverse, which we know they become a metaverse play at the end of this year. Gaming is still not tied to Veve, so that is something that we could maybe see in the future. Outside of just racing our vehicles, token utility is still not here. You can't buy a Veve NFT with OMI, as well as cashing out. We know that there's some people in beta, but for the most part, again, majority of users cannot cash out. So the fact that it's seen this level of success with pumping money into an app where you can't cash out is absolutely insane. Same thing with interoperability, the localization, large geographic areas that have not been targeted yet because they can't see the app in their own languages, as well as advertising. All of this success in this large community was built on their ability to scale without a lot of these key things that are needed. And today, even in this down market, when we look at the top grossing entertainment apps ranking in both Apple as well as Google Play Store, Veve is number 14 behind companies like Funimation, Amazon Prime Video, Starz, Crunchyroll, Netflix. So they are crushing it. But I wanted to get a view into what is Veve's value today? What is this company worth? And there's no way of having exact numbers, but I wanted to play around with them. If you don't follow Puddin' Cheeks on Twitter, please do, because he has an amazing tracker that shows OMI burn, total gems spent in, the store. And when we look at the total amount of dollars spent in the Veve app today, 219,788,546 between the primary and secondary fees. This number was around $39,905 at the start of February in 2021. That was all the money that had been put into the app in February. And again, 1 year and 3 months later, we're at 219,788,000, an additional 124,317,000 of gems that have been purchased that are just sitting in the app. So that level of success, I wanted to compare it to someone who is in this top app ranking to try to get an understanding for what their valuation could be in such fast success. When we look at Crunchyroll, Crunchyroll is the most recognized anime streaming service. It has been around since 2006. And again, it is on this list at number 6. Crunchyroll's current estimated annual revenue is $163 million per year. And they have 629 employees. They were acquired by Sony last year for $1.17 billion. So does Veve have an estimated annual revenue of $219 million? No. Go ahead and take 219,788,546, divide that by 1.3 for the year and 3 months, and then 169 million. Now, that isn't their annual revenue, right? We don't know how much Veve keeps of the total sales, but we do know that 30% right off the bat has been going directly to Apple. So we're going to times that by 70%. Comes out to 118,347,000. And then we also know that anywhere between 2.5% to 8.5% is going to the licensors, right? Take an average of around 6%. So times 96%. So not quite up to Crunchyroll's average annual revenue, but again, in 1 year and 3 months, 113 million annual revenue. Before we know if there's anything else that has come out of this, that is a wild success. So everyone is always asking like, oh, what happens if Veve is acquired? I guarantee you that other NFT large companies, as well as other companies outside of NFTs like Apple or Disney or Amazon, have most likely approached Veve to try and make them an acquisition offer. In terms of valuation, they're probably floating around somewhere between 800 million to around $1 billion. And again, that's on current state, where we are right now. It's really easy to get lost in the negativity and the FUD when everything is down, but look at the numbers. Look at the tremendous level of success in such a short amount of time. If 95% of NFTs will die off in an extended bear market, all of this data shows that Veve has cemented themselves as one of those projects that is in that 5% that will make it long term and are going to continue to grow and scale with the technology, metaverse, everything that you've seen. We know in time that the FUDders will lose the ability to say, oh, well, you can't cash out, or I can't buy them with Ethereum, or where's the metadata? It's annoying that those catalysts have been pushed off, but we know that they're going to be addressed. It's going to be a lot harder to find that FUD when Veve is one of the largest metaverse user bases as a hybrid centralized metaverse with decentralized assets. The real hype, the real max exposure is still ahead of us. And the same could be said with OMI as it becomes recognized as a true NFT and metaverse crypto token. With that, let's talk about OMI now. OMI was actually one of the highest percentage gained crypto for the year of 2021, but holding it definitely didn't pan out long term. Let's go into exactly why. This will also address the NFT values dropping as well. This is OMI's price chart from January 2021 till now, and we can see what this cycle looks like and compare it to other projects also with the timeline. OMI's price went absolute parabolic in this month from February through the end of March, where the entire sentiment was, oh my God, NFTs are amazing. Veve is going to the moon. And then what happened? It tanked. And the whole sentiment of the market was NFTs are dying. They were just a fad. Veve is dying. Veve's dead. And we went from April all the way to September with that sentiment in August, September timeframe where the market changed. It went, NFTs are amazing again. Veve is going to the moon. And we can see that's what happened with other NFT projects and coins. The same cycles happened with Wax, with Engine, with Decentraland. I could pull up multiple NFT crypto charts to actually show the exact same, but we can see they matched up perfectly. The only thing is while these continue to rally up in this time frame, OMI had this plateau of what I call the plateau of soon. It started off by being exciting, right? It was first Marvel drop, introduced comics. It started the NFT second bull run for the year. And it rallied up, but there was a whole lot of like, well, Immutable X migration is coming. you'll be able to cash out soon. That is what I call the plateau of soon. And that's why we saw it bounce around from around that 0.008 to around 0.005, up and down, because people stop buying OMI as much because they get excited and then there'd be setbacks, excited, then setbacks. And that's what happens. Same thing with later on in November when they announced Disney, Veve NFTs shot up, everything shot up, Immutable X migration finally came. And then we can see a lot of things happened where it went back into that cycle of NFTs are dying, Veve is dying, Veve is dead. And this cycle was created because of inflation finally being realized. Of course, Russia invading Ukraine created a lot of fear within the market. There's more talk around the coronavirus, different variations happening, more shutdowns, tax season, as well as that's when also we saw the bots were taken out of the market. Now, this was kind of a two-edged sword, right? I'm not saying we needed the bots. However, when you took the bots out, the supply and demand definitely dropped, right? People were more willing to actually pay a higher premium in the secondary market because so many bots were getting the collectibles on the drops. That had a huge effect on the market tied in with all of these different things, as well as, again, hashtag soon on the ability to cash out. People lost their patience. And of course, flagged accounts that weren't supposed to be flagged. That created a lot of people who were banned for no reason and a lot of frustration there, which we did have a limitation on the bot activity, which has continued to see the values go down. So from October 2020, where the Veve app was created and went to discovery mode, the first NFT bull run, hey, we're on Uniswap, being on major crypto channels, to where we are today, it's had a great run, but it was also tied with the ebb and flow of all of the other NFT projects, the other coins. It's had a very similar fall from value, just like every other NFT crypto that is out there. And the fact is, what's changed in 1 year with OMI? Not a whole lot, really. I mean, 10% APY for staking for non-US investors. It's on very few exchanges, no large exchanges that really a majority of people use. However, a ton has been burnt. Over 55 billion have been burnt over this time frame. That is a huge number, and it's going to continue to burn, especially if we fall into a crypto winter. But it's not going to really fully matter until we do get that utility, right? One thing that did happen, of course, is we made that migration to Immutable X. There's more to be seen out of that, but for now, not really a whole lot of change. So we're still waiting on that utility, collectibles, benefits, staking, which is part of the OUP, gaming functionality, etc. So I show all this because I want you to know that you're not alone with your fear on the OMI token, right? You're in it with the rest of us, but also these other projects, I guarantee you, these investors who bought around here, or here, are kicking themselves, right? They're angry at these other projects as well because they're down. But when you look at the larger picture, every NFT crypto is down. But these projects do have utility. You can spend their coin in their marketplace. I'm not sure about Engine necessarily, but with Decentraland, with Wax, OMI doesn't have that yet. Again, the biggest catalyst for this token is still ahead of it. And again, as long as Veve is continuing to be successful, which we've shown in these previous slides, OMI will grow in value as well. Now, let's not forget, when we were around this area and this area, everyone was saying, man, I really wish I bought OMI back when it was 0.0013. So now we're actually back around that area. So the question is, are you stacking and waiting for the next wave? Or is there enough fear in the market that you're just stacking cash? I wanted to go through two different scenarios. A worst case, what happens if we go into a recession? Because there's a lot of things that are happening now that weren't around during this time, as well as an ideal case where we could rebound from the current pricing. I'm talking about crypto, stocks, NFTs, everything. Let's go through the worst case first and what my plan is with this. Now, I know recession is a bad word, and the idea of losing money or having your investments go down is scary. But there's a lot happening right now where this could be the scenario. So again, I will talk about the ideal case after this, but let's address the worst case. So looking at the S&P 500, there was a recession, of course, in the dot-com era of 2000, where it lasted 7 years, and the S&P 500's value did not actually come back up to where it was until 7 years later. Had a small window, but then in 2008, another recession hit that lowered it 51% and took 4 years before jumping back to its former high. During this time, there was also world crisis and wars and things of that nature. And then it went on an absolute crazy tear with a couple consolidation points, including in 2018, which was actually a pretty big one. And that is actually when I started investing. Up until 2018, I didn't invest. I started investing in stocks. I bought a little bit of crypto. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have a lot of money. I come from very little. And so I was never taught to invest. And then I started actively researching and having conversations with people who knew a lot more than me. So that way I could understand. And I started investing in 2018 in this dip. Now, not at the bottom. I was like right here. So I invested and I saw my money go down. Had I sold out, I would have been kicking myself because what happened? Continue to climb. And then 2020 happened with coronavirus and market tanked 31%. I bought all the way down on this dip, including the bottom, and stacked heavy at that time. Had I not done that, I would not have some of the comfort and flexibility I have today. So when there is peak fear, that is when it is the best time to buy on the right projects. However, this was a V-shaped recovery. It was absolutely crazy. It took 6 months to actually get back to where it was. And then we continued to rally. And then we saw a large fall this year. 19% it dropped to the bottom, and it's actually rekindled a little bit. But a lot of that fear is still looming. So what happens if we go into another recession? I believe this is a likely scenario, which means that Bitcoin, crypto, all alts will actually continue to fall further due to inflation fear. Money printing has been absolutely insane. World turmoil between all these different events. We had like Ukraine and Russia. China is talking about invading Taiwan, which the US said they'll send troops. Supply chains are absolutely crazy. Health fears continue with more viruses coming and more lockdowns. There's a lot of things that are all building up into a large snowball that could continue to push markets down. And if this is all realized, then we could be looking at anywhere from like an 18,000 to maybe a 20,000 Bitcoin, which you better believe there's a lot more downside to come. And there could be about a year or two before it really starts to rekindle to a bull market. So what I'm doing is stacking cash, making sure I have no debt, secure consistent income, right? I need to make sure I'm getting paid on a bi-weekly basis from my job so I can continue to invest, adding small positions because this is not a guaranteed scenario. But we are in a dip. So if it does rebound, I've been adding to my OMI bags. I've been adding and diversifying as well because when everything did dip to that 19%, I did add some Cardano, I added some XRP, I added some things, and those have rallied up to around 20% gain. OMI is amazing, but so is so many other crypto projects. And you never know with catalysts if something could rally before OMI. And if you're not in love with that other project, you can sell it, take those gains, and then put it into OMI. So what I will do is if a recession hits, I will continue to dollar cost average and go heavy in crypto and those positions during that max fear. When everyone pulls their money out of the market, these dips are where the most money is made. And then I will wait and continue to add until the next bull market in 2024, 2025, if the recession plan plays out. And why do I think 2024, 2025 is because historically, it's always happened very similar. The Bitcoin halving in 2016, several months later, you can see it started to pick up and then rallied into the 2018 bull market. And then everything tanked down. And during that time, Bitcoin went from $400 to $19,000, and then it dropped, right? Where it was low for quite some time, dropped again during the coronavirus fear, and then it had the Bitcoin halving, and then what happened again? Those who held their positions, whether it was here and added along the way, or here, or even here, I added a lot right here, are so much well off than having sold during this downtime. And that's where a lot of money is made. So mid 2024 is the most likely next Bitcoin halving, depending on world events where I think there will be another massive bull market. Technology advances in wearables, metaverse, augmented reality, mixed reality, AI, digital currency will all be that much stronger over a 2-year period. OMI burned will be somewhere around 150 billion plus, which means over half of the total supply will be completely gone. By then, we will have utility, and I do believe sometime in this time frame there will be a supply shock, which will create a large jump up in the OMI price. The Veveverse will probably be in somewhere around phase 3 plus, and Ecomi Veve will be much more than what we can actually imagine today. And keep in mind that in bear markets, people still collect things. They still need entertainment. They still need an escape. So digital collectibles are not a need, right? People would rather buy food and gas and things like that in a recession. However, people still need entertainment. People will still need a community. People will still be playing in a metaverse. And so Veve NFTs will hold up stronger than many other NFTs if a recession hits. Now, that's worst case scenario. Ideally, what we'd like to see is a rebound from where we currently are, right? I still think that there's going to be a recession. I still think that we're going to have a lot of downside because nothing goes up forever, but we could have a rebound back up before we see that happen. If that's the case, then nothing really changes with what I'm doing. But what I will do is if a rebound hits, I'm going to add strategically before ETH 2.0 in 2023 is roughly when that's supposed to happen. And I'll actually sell whenever we are approaching back near a high on Bitcoin during the next euphoria thrill phase. And then I'll wait for this big dip, continue to add heavier. This is the ideal case. And if this does happen, then the price of OMI from 0.00159 or whatever it's at will go higher in that time frame. So those who dollar cost average during this time have lowered their overall price and are in a better position for it to go higher. I don't want a recession to happen, but I do need to consider it. I do need to plan for it. And in terms of investing, that is where the most money is made, placing investments during that time. So my final thoughts are Veve is one of the top NFT projects in the space, yet highly overlooked presently. They don't get anywhere near the awareness as most of the other projects in the space, even though they have a ton more built and more IP, more brands than any other company in the space. And with that, OMI will have its day. However, it's definitely not today, right? It's definitely way, way down, and it did have a crazy run last year, so it will have another crazy run in the future. Veve NFTs and OMI are affected by the broader markets. When you look at the NFTs, how they track with the broader market, when you look at how OMI tracks with other NFT coins, we can see that it is affected by the sentiment, by what's happening in the overall world. Keep that in mind that in order to track what's going to happen with OMI and our Veve NFTs, pay attention to the broader markets. Don't be afraid to take profit and don't be afraid to hold. So if you took in profit at the top, you're sitting in a good spot. You could have then now bought at the bottom. However, if you are holding and you're at a big negative from your bag, again, don't be afraid to hold because you know that the price will come back one day. Don't fear bear markets. Embrace and prepare for them. Again, investing during bear markets has been financially for me one of the best decisions I've done, as well as what every major investor says, right? The old phrase, buy low, sell high. It still very much works today. You never miss the boat as it always comes back, right? We're always afraid of missing a price point. We're always afraid of not having a Walt NFT before it goes up to over 100K. There will always be ebbs and flows. So if you make moves in that ebb, again, there will be a flow. And have a future state mindset. It's so easy to get lost when we're in this negative sentiment, right? Where the values are down, we're not making as much as we once were. But the fact that that happened, the fact that Veve is still growing, community is still active, people are still actively buying OMI, and that all of the major catalysts that we've wanted for over a year are still ahead of us, don't lose sight of that. The purpose of this video isn't to tell you go out and buy another 5 million OMI right now or scoop up as many Veve NFTs as possible. The purpose of this video is to remind you that yes, things are down, but Veve and OMI aren't going anywhere. There's time. And taking advantage of that time in down markets historically tends to pay back the most. The purpose of this video was to do a full market analysis with data that shows Veve NFTs and OMI are solid investments tied to one of the most explosively successful and innovative companies I have ever seen, with an incredible community that is unlike most others. And that the most impactful catalysts are still ahead. Everyone wants to make an investment that in 1 year helps them retire early, right? They put in $10,000, $20,000, and now they have multi-millions. And I'm sure many had that expectation with OMI, with their Veve NFTs. In reality, a fraction of 1% of people actively make that happen with one investment. And when it does happen, it's mostly luck, timing, having an in, or perfect due diligence. However, when you realize it's not a race to the top and it's more of a journey, you can change your financial future based on calculated moves over multiple years. A much higher percent of people make this happen and end up building generational wealth for themselves and their families. That is my goal with Veve NFTs and OMI, and why I wanted to speak to the markets, and again, to help give a holistic view into our current situation so you can plan accordingly and make educated moves, not emotional ones. I hope I've shown that today. And the last thing I'll add is, in the interim, keep having fun. We've invested and made tons of money on collecting digital collectibles of some of our favorite nostalgic characters while connecting with thousands of strangers all over the world over one passion. Don't lose sight of that, whether we're in a bull market or a bear market. Cheers, Veve fam. As always, I hope you found my content valuable, and if so, please hit the like button, leave a comment down below. The likes and comments appease the algo overlords and help my channel continue to grow. If you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button, notification bell for future content. That's it for today. I'm Taps. Thank you for your time, man. Happy trading.